Hey guys, welcome to the Game Dev Discussion Podcast. This is episode 48. Just before we get stuck into it, if you enjoy these podcasts and you want to support it, remember to head over to the Patreon. Any support we get on there goes back into making the podcast better. But yeah, this is episode 48, and this week we have Wardog Studios co-founder and lead weapon artist Ohle Mathiebe, and I've just butchered his name, and I'm so sorry. But how you doing, dude?
I'm doing good. And you?
Yeah, I'm good, man. How's all of this madness in the world affecting you? I'm guessing you're the same as me. You work from home, so you're kind of like it's normal for you, really.
I mean, for me, literally nothing has changed except that I can't go to the cinema, which I do quite frequently, and I can't go eat outside. That's basically it.
Yeah, it's
So,
it's funny 'cause every time I talk to the guys at our station, because everyone in the shoot in an office, they're like, "Oh, how are you finding it? How's everything?" I'm like, "Dude, I've been doing this for the past year. Like, this is normal for me."
exactly.
So you are lead weapon artist at Wardog. Now it's I think if everybody isn't familiar with that name, you'll be familiar with their artwork. Some of the highest quality weapon art on in the art industry at the moment. Now before we get stuck into Wardog, you started Elite 3D, correct?
Yes, it was my very first in-house job.
So what have you like building up your way into wanting to get into the industry? Was it always did you always envision yourself being a weapons artist? How did you like end up in weapon art, or did you kind of just fall into it?
Well, at the very first moment I had the first contact with 3D was like with 14, I think, or 15.
Mm-hmm.
But it was really like I was trying to mod for Morrowind and
All
then
right, okay.
for Oblivion, but I was pretty bad, and it wasn't that there wasn't many YouTube videos or anything up there other back then. So I just like how you say, I just ignored it by then and never
Mm-hmm.
thought about it again since I was 20, let me guess, 21, I think, when I started again with game art in general. And I was
Mm-hmm.
like one of these people that was a little bit crazy and was like, I want to make a game now just because I listened to a music song. And I was like, let's make a cyberpunk game. A little bit crazy, but that's how it started out. I tried
Mm-hmm.
coding and I literally tried everything like environment coding, characters. And for characters, I was and coding, I was too dumb. Like I was like, holy shit, what is this? I can't figure it out. And for characters, pretty much the same because I saw the topology and how you have to retopo, and I was like, holy shit, no fucking way I can do that. So I just ended up doing props, environment, and weapon stuff. And the more
Mm-hmm.
weapons I have made, because it's a cyberpunk game, so there are some weapons, I just discovered that I really enjoy doing weapons. And I'm not even the gun guy in real life. Like I never shot a real gun, or I don't care about guns in real life, which
Mm-hmm.
many of my fellow weapon artists think is pretty crazy. But I just like the shapes and how you can tell stories with the textures right in the eyes of the player. So that's
Oh,
why I
dude,
decided.
your textures are what are like catch my eye. It's on that. It's that handgun. It's the cream handgun.
Yeah.
The wear
Yep.
you did on that is. It's always been one of my like. This is how you do aging on a gun. Like it's. I see a
Yeah.
lot of younger artists. When they try to do aging and wear, and it's so over the top and it makes no sense. And I saw this, and I was like, I can actually imagine how the wear took place, and it's one of the things that stand. I think made that asset stand out so much for me.
Yeah, it's also like, if not even my favorite gun of all of my guns, just because first of the color, the base color, the beige,
Mm-hmm.
and then the subtle edge where it has. Like it's not superly overdone or anything, but it's also not super clean. And I tried
Yeah.
to give it like even technically, and that's the thing why I'm kind of different to some other weapon artists I know. I don't care much about reality. So in reality, you would
Mm.
never have a modern headgun with a two-layered coating like I have it there, especially not with this kind of coating.
Mm.
Because I have this black coating below the uh, ceramic coat, and it
Mm-hmm.
doesn't make any sense. Like usually would never do that.
I mean,
But
I'm the same as you, dude. I don't care for reality. There's a lot of stuff I see in weapon art or like in prop art in general. It's like, oh, that makes no sense. It's done for just aesthetic reasons. It's like
yes,
just because it looks cool.
I was literally not even knowing if there's anything wrong about it. I was just like, I want this black layer below the beige because it's nice and contrasty, and you can have this super nice contrast between like you can tell there's this crisp edge wear on the beige,
Hmm.
and then you have this smoother edge wear transition to the metal and the black. And I just like how this looks.
Dude, I'm making a prediction right here. I reckon, you know how like everyone does AKs, or they do like that Soviet era type gun. That's like the go-to gun for a lot of people. I can see the beige gun, so like your handgun, Linus's rifle,
Yeah,
that color palette. I've seen a couple of others. I think Duard Mozart's done some really good one. Carlos. I think that's going to become the in the next like 2 years maybe. That's going to become the go-to um, kind of type of weapon or color palette for a weapon, just because there's so much room to do stuff. There's a lot of room to
yeah,
make it interesting. The color variation, you can actually see the colors rather than just this, because everything looks nice on a dark background. So it's like putting a dark gray or black metal on a black background. It's like it's hard for you
yes,
to stand out. So I can see that color palette of guns becoming more and more popular.
yeah. Lovely.
Um, I love it. They're some of my favorites. I think it's because
Yeah,
it's so much easier to read the detail. So it's
but
and
it's but
Linus is a weird one as well. Actually, do you guys interact much? Like, as in, do you feedback to Linus? Does Linus or any of your artists, should I say?
oh yeah, we were like especially inside of Wardog, we are literally giving feedback to each other frequently on everything because
How does that take place?
well, we have a Slack where we're talking to each other,
Ah, okay.
and since we have no physical studio yet, so we are having like our little virtual studio, you can say.
Yeah.
And not only for professional work, but also just for personal work, we are always in the chat and seeing what the other people think. Because also that's the thing, the good thing about our team is we're not just weapon artists like Linus, me, and uh, freelancers we hire, but we also have people like Doru or Jade,
Mm.
who is my partner, uh,
Mm-hmm.
who are having a way more artistically background in the sense of colors or color theory and aesthetics and having more the artistic eye on it instead of this technical cold weapon artist eye on it. So
Mm-hmm.
it's very nice to have this contrast on how people look at this stuff.
Interestingly enough, I briefly mentioned this to you off air. There's like a running meme I've noticed from working with multiple communities and speaking to multiple artists that like weapon artists are not arrogant but elitist. Is I suppose is the closest way, is the kindest way I could put it.
Mm,
Which is it's a joke. It's obviously meant lightheartedly, but with every joke there's an element of truth. Have you noticed that yourself as a weapons artist? Have you felt that?
Yeah,
Have you noticed it?
the thing with weapon art is I think it's if you specialize on something, weapons is probably the most elitist part of it because every game has vehicles, every game has characters, every game has props, but not every game has weapons. So the market or like the amount of artists that can be hired by studios is not that big. So
Mm.
to get into the industry as a weapon artist is probably the hardest that you can try. Maybe
Mm-hmm.
material artist is even harder, but like weapon artist is already pretty tough. And also because of many weapon artists are such gun freaks, they also tend to try to force this super realism and
Mm.
try to nitpick a lot about small details that no one cares about. Like the customer don't
Yeah.
care, other artists don't care much, and that's what I always think about when I talk to other weapon artists who are so extreme on this. It annoys me a little bit because it's like, yes, it's true. This is maybe not 100% accurate to the real life gun, but it looks nice. So
Yeah,
why putting the extra effort if it's not needed? But that's the thing. Like if they like to, it's totally fine. I don't mind. It's like just for me personally.
it's hard, isn't it? Because like with a couple of close friends in both Deco and outside of Deco, it's like I have this conversation quite a lot. I'm on your side of the fence. I'm like, as long as it looks cool, I don't really care. And there's certain elements we spoke about, like there's a couple of pieces we spoke about in the past, and it's like, oh, that makes no sense. That wouldn't be there. And I'm like, yeah, but it looks really good. Like artistically and compositionally, it breaks things up. It looks good. Adds some
Yeah.
color. Um, and the difficulty is as well is, in my eyes, no game asset is ever one to one real life anyway. Because even in first person games, with weapons or in third person, the bevels, the shapes, you have to exaggerate just a little bit so
Yes.
the stuff reads. Because if you go one to one in real life, it will look like trash in a game
Yep.
because you just won't read any of the shapes. So I'm kind of like, okay, you've already had to stylize it a little bit if we're going to say one to one to real life.
Yep.
So what's wrong with going that extra step further to add some artistic flair? What I will say though is I hate, and I've spoken. This is like again a running meme. Like, oh yeah, add some character and story to your gun, and the first thing someone does is etch kills into a gun, and I'm like, and I'm not even a weapons artist. I'm my skin cruel, so I imagine there's weapon artists rolling their grave when they see that shit.
Yeah, I mean that's the thing. Like I see a lot of people who are just doing edgeware and edgeware and edgeware and edgeware and thinking that's all the work has been done if there's edgeware or an edgeware generator. And that's why I tried to bring it to another level on my latest gun, the Groza, where I
Yeah.
had all this smudge on or like this oil smudges and the dirt in the oil and this grease, and just tried to give another dimension of weathering to
Mm.
this kind of guns because yeah, everyone does edgeware nowadays, and I'm like, let's see if you can get something else in there.
Well, you know what? Your Groza does two things which I like. One, I love the silencer. I absolutely love that silencer because it's just another surface.
Yes, but for the silencer, I can't take credit. It's made by our by Jade, by my
Oh, is it
partner.
made by Jade? Oh,
Yes,
okay. Shout out to Jade. She killed it. It's a
she's amazing and marvelous designer, and that's
right.
the thing about if you're a team, there is zero reason for me to make the
Yeah, to
silencer on
stress
my
with it.
own if she's can doing it like in no time and killing it. So yeah,
Oh, dude, you get to check out Blender. Now Blender's got all that fabric stuff coming into it. You bring it back into oof, it's
I am a
exciting
Blender
times.
artist.
Are you? Oh man, this is fantastic. You know what? It's like it's so bad because I'm not even like an OG Blender person. I learned it from Michael Kinsey. He taught me last year, and it's like I don't know whether it's just because I'm aware of it now. Like like when you have a car and it's like or like you have something with a phone, and because you have it, you notice it everywhere else.
Yeah.
I'm kind of like, oh, I use Blender now, and I'm now noticing that, and I'm super hyped when I see other people using Blender.
Yeah,
But
I'm using Blender since I started 3D basically. So
ah,
I'm always being loyal to my
dude,
Blender.
you need to get Jade to have a look at it. Yeah, if she's using because I like Marvelous Designer quite a lot. I use it for my materials. But seeing some of the stuff that Blender's doing with the fabric simulation, I'm like, I don't think I need Marvelous soon. Like, a couple more features, a couple more iterations. I'm like, I won't need Marvelous anymore. And the
Oh yeah,
sculpting element
but
too.
she is using this also for
Characters.
yeah, no, but also for advertisement, like very
Oh, okay.
realistic stuff. So she got the skills in Marvelous and sub ZBrush. Like she is a
Nice.
very like jack of all trades, but like in a
Mm-hmm.
very high level since she can do too many things except hard surface. That's the only thing. So
Anything organic, you've got. She's
yes,
in one. But like hard
organics
surface,
she
like
kills
okay,
it.
I got it. Yeah, coming back to the Groza, the other thing you do, which is nice, is the side mounted. Well, it looks like a side mounted sight, or yeah, side mounted sight. So it's like it's off to an angle,
Yes.
and I'm like, I like anyone who knows guns and knows you can do that, obviously with sights. But it's just that nice thing where I'm like, it's a point of difference,
Yep.
and it's like, okay, this isn't just a box standard gun. It's really nice to see, and it's interesting with Linus's sniper rifle. he is like that's the best example of a actual clean rifle or an actually clean gun because there's still information in there, like roughness and everything. There's still information.
Yeah,
It's not like blank.
yeah,
But also makes sense to be clean. Sniper rifles are not infantry guns. You're not taking them close quarters. They do tend to stay pretty well maintained. So yeah, I remember seeing that and I was like, holy shit. That's how actually I came across Wardog was that rifle. Um,
which of his snipers? Because you did three.
the L11, the cream, the
Ah, the
beige.
newest one, the recent. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But actually, so yeah, let's get into Wardog. So you're Elite 3D. And now you are, yeah, you founded Wardog. Um, like how did you get to? That's such a big leap to go from like your first job, and I don't know what was the thinking to get from
It
Elite 3D to Wardog? What did that look like?
it was despair, disparity, and a lot of
Go on.
confusion. No,
Oh, was
basically,
it a case of you? Okay, so
yeah.
before you say, it, I'm going to assume it's apply for jobs. You're like, what? Fuck this! I'll build my own studio.
Basically, like I went I got the opportunity to work at Elite 3D when I was quite bad but had like super much potential as they said, which I had to prove them they're right if they give me the opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
And so I in this year at Elite 3D I learned so many things and I met a lot of amazing people that I could learn from. And I literally this 1 year at Elite slept daily maybe 4 to 5 hours
Mm-hmm.
max. Like I had days where I just drank fucking 6 Red Bulls just because I went to work, did my 9 hours,
Mm-hmm.
and then I went afterwards home, like 10 minutes walking, and continued 3D
Yeah.
till I fall to the bed and went to work again. And I did this for basically 1 year. Like the people there, like asked me to come out to the bar or something quite frequently. Like Rick, for example, probably asked me every day, and that was probably nice from him because even after I refused the 10th time, he still asked. I came like maybe 10 times in 1 year, so.
Oh man, you're being punishable, man. Dude, Rick's good
Oh,
to drink with. We've been out with a few times with Rick.
oh yeah, but that's the thing. Like, I took this year to really focus on getting better because I don't know why I have this drive. I still have this drive that I have to just get better even faster than I'm already getting better.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, I just worked hard 1 year long. And then after 1 year, um, I just was thinking it's time to move on. Also, my girlfriend took a job in Germany. So
Mm-hmm.
I just went back to Germany because it was just I want to work on portfolio and my girlfriend is in
Mm-hmm.
Germany. So yeah. And then after adding a lot of pieces to my portfolio, like what was it? It was the Ares, I think. I added afterwards, and the Zig MPX and the tactical Zig Sauer and all the
Mm-hmm.
other pieces in my portfolio. And I started to apply again. I even applied at Ubisoft
Mm-hmm.
Berlin, and I had the recommendation of one lead artist from Ubisoft Montreal and
Mm-hmm.
a recommendation from Ubisoft Montreal art director. And with my skills, you would guess I would get the job, no? They not
So no
even
luck.
replied to me. I got the denial 1 year later,
Right.
and I tried to apply at other places too. I got only refused. Then I had some chit chats with CD Projekt Red, but
Mm-hmm.
then they canceled the position again. So all the talks and interviews I had with them were pretty useless in the end because sadly they canceled the position again.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and after getting refused for like 1 year, and I was like, yeah, nice. Like the thing was, what can I do with my portfolio to get a job if this is not enough already? Like, I literally didn't know what to do.
Mm-hmm.
So what I just did, I was like chatting with Jade, like we know each other from the internet for like 5 years already now,
Yeah.
4 or 5 years. And I was like, I want to make an outsource studio. She was like, yes, me too. And that was literally like, okay, let's do it together. And that's literally how it just started, all this whole fucking journey. And yeah, it was literally just because I got refused so many times and no studio wanted to work with me. So I was like, yeah, fuck that. If you don't want to work with me as freelancer or even in-house, then I will make a company that you want to work with because
Dude,
the
that's
quality is
amazing though. I love that because that's like, oh yeah, the door is a locked door and I can't get in. Fine, I'll make my own door. Like it's,
exactly. I just
I love that
smashed the
shit.
door.
So, like, so what does that look like? Like, okay, you said okay, we're gonna make an outsourced studio. Like, what's the what's the next steps? You say, yeah, okay, we're gonna do this, and let's skip the brand. Like, you have to design it, you have to think of a name, and you have to, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
What's the next step from there?
Well, first we had to think about how we market like after having a brand, but we have also to think about how do you make yourself stand out in the such saturated market because let's be honest, the outsourced market in 2020 is like I think we are almost at a peak of uh, 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 um, the number of outsourced studios that you can have in this industry. Like there's
Mm-hmm.
so many outsourced studios popping out. So how can we be special in this
Mm-hmm.
market? That was basically the main question we had and asked ourselves. Yeah, and our answer to that was basically, well, let's just make the best guns we like an outsourced studio can provide, and we try to like that's what we try to explain to our clients when we have first meetings with them or first chats. We don't want to be the typical art provider you usually work with, but we want to be their partners, basically their art partners. We are not
Mm-hmm.
interested in being another art factory for some big company who doesn't care about their studios they work with.
Mm-hmm.
And we try to make that clear in the beginning already, because it's also good for the motivation of your artists and of it's also good for the client in the end because the more motivated and connected the outsource artists feel with the client, the better it will be the results and the communication.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
What? But what? Okay, so you there. You've like, okay, we're going to make the best weapons you could possibly get. What was the thinking then? To so you have people like Dora on board, who is fantastic materials, a props
Yes.
artist, and then you've got like vehicles on your portfolio and your concept art.
Yes.
Like, where do these pieces start fitting in? How do these come about?
Well, yeah, the thing is that if you want to do just weapons, that's not gonna work out just because there are many games that also need just weapons that like every outsource studio could provide. But we
Mm-hmm.
also try to show with having our own concepts that we are able to be more involved in their development and their concepting stage. So it tries to show them that we are able to be partners that are more competent than just doing art for them, like 3D art, like just here, that's your art, have fun with it. No, we're
Mm-hmm.
able to develop with the companies new styles and concepts and try to show them we know the whole pipeline, not just one small piece of it. And Doru fits in there just because first he's an amazing artist, second because we are also want to have a variety. That's also why the car, because you always need also other stuff than just weapons. But it's good to have a main theme what you're selling your company with.
Hmm.
And also there are many fantasy games out there, so there will be always work for people like Doro too, who can just do his stunning ZBrush skills show off, because I know him for almost also for 3 years. So yeah, he was the first person I was thinking about we thought about how we get variety in there, and I was like, let's get Doro on board because
Yeah, he's
yeah,
a beast. He's I met him first on it was in the November challenge, which he won. Actually, he won. He
yeah,
yeah, I remember like seeing him and chatting there. We started talking, and like now I've seen quite a lot of experience points chat as well. Yeah, he's actually quite a surprising one. Like, because you don't often see someone who completely kills it at like props, like to an elite
yeah,
level, who then also kills it at materials at an elite level. It's like it's actually quite rare. So when I saw that, I was like, wait, are you the guy that did the feudal war stuff? And I like double checked, like, shit, you are okay. Damn, this guy's yeah, he's a jack. Well, not a jack of all trades. He's a versatile guy. Like,
yeah,
and that crossbow was super sick. Like, I remember seeing that and thinking it. I always find material like props like this very difficult for a lot of artists, because when you've got like just a wooden prop, it's easy to you've only got to work out the wear on wood and then your sound, and vice versa. If you're doing like just a metal prop,
yeah,
you just all work out the wear for the metal and then you're fine. It's very hard to get consistency between multiple types of surfaces. Like, he has fabric, he has wood, he has metal.
yeah,
It's very, very hard to make things consistent. So seeing him do that was super interesting.
yeah. Like this
Uh,
crossbow and the WDMK 18, both
mhm,
were concepts from us, but how we usually tackle it, we have a base concept, which
mhm.
then the concept artists work close with the 3D artists together to develop from this concept. So it's basically more like the actual production in-house pipeline for the concept artists and the 3D artists. That's also why we haven't posted yet any fleshed out concepts, because it was so much about iteration and thumbnails and this kind of stuff,
Mhm.
that we only decided to post for now the finished asset.
Yeah, so basically you want to have like you almost, I suppose you approach the studio from that mindset as, okay, you have like, rather than having the problem half solved in terms of we know what we want, just go make it. You want to be, we'll help you solve the problem what you want,
Yeah,
and we'll make it, and
yeah,
that's where you approach it. I'm guessing
yeah. That's
that's an interesting way.
that's
That's
that's the thing. Like we are. That's what I mean. Like when I say like we're trying to be the actual partner for the clients we work with, and not just an art provider, because I have been there, like in at Elite 3D. You usually did only art providing, even though it was also projects where you were a lot more involved. But I haven't worked on
mhm.
them, so I can't speak for those projects. But I just knew for myself I don't want to work in the just art providing role in the end. So that's why I wanted to have Wardog more versatile and offering the clients more than just being the art guys.
So what sort of challenge? What like what big challenges have you faced during all this? Like, what's been some like real sticky patches for you?
What do you mean?
So when you're running the studio, is there any like has there been any things you've been like, oh, we need to address it? So what's a good example? Like, oh yeah, we need to look at organic stuff, for example.
Yeah.
Is have you like so you guys looked at that and then gone, well, actually, for X Y reasons, we can't do this, or we don't want to do this? If you what like troubles have you run into when you're setting all this up?
I'm not sure what you mean. You mean why we don't do organic stuff at all? Or
Not necessarily organic, just what's when you're setting up a studio,
yeah.
it's not all plain sailing. There's obviously difficulties, challenges to face you when you're doing this. I'm just curious about what sort of challenges you faced when setting up Wardog, Um, whether or not you don't have to dive into them, it's just a curious thing because I know there's going to be a lot of people listening who not so much want to start up studios, but you know, it's an interesting conversation that was had with the Deco guys, and it was that the industry, the reason all these outsourced studios are popping up is because there's more of a need for it. Studios are getting smaller and they're outsourcing, the actual studios who are making the games are getting smaller
Yeah.
and they're outsourcing a lot of the labor out.
Yes.
This job is becoming more and more viable. And actually, with all this COVID stuff going on, I think this is going to be sped up because the whole work from home thing, a bunch of people are getting a taste for it. And some people aren't going to like it and some people are.
Yeah.
So this has all been accelerated. There's going to be a bunch of people who are looking to getting to this side of the industry. Um,
Yeah.
what
That's.
challenges are there with this side of the industry? What sort of challenges have you faced, either personally or as a studio?
I mean, the thing is that many like I talked to some big studios
Mm,
recently that had exactly that problem, like this problem that a lot of producers and leading people, they can't handle this working from home remote stuff. Like they're literally having huge problems with getting people to work or structuring stuff and being able to actually be productive.
mm-hmm,
We don't really have the problem because first Jade is an amazing management person
mm-hmm,
and she has set up basically everything for us so we can work very easily in a virtual studio environment, so to say.
mm-hmm,
And if you establish core hours for your team, even if it's different time zones, and having people to overview the single projects frequently and having always an eye on what's going on and logging times, for example with Jira, I think it's pretty, I don't want to say easy, but I think it's just
That-
another way you have to get used to if you try to lead from home, for example.
that's interesting. So you guys use your management and you go Slack and Jira. That's how you manage projects.
Yes. And we have actually people we work with, like clients, who literally do the same, and they are literally a studio. Like, I was actually surprised they are doing that because majority of their artists are actually remote, and was pretty crazy. I liked it because you can see that even big games can be made like this, but yeah, amazing stuff.
So this brings us on to something we spoke about off air. We were talking about Wardog, and I asked you, what would you classify yourself as, an outsourced studio? And you said, it's kind of more than that. I want to get into this. We spoke a bit about the fact that you want to be like art partners with people, because you're covering multiple bases. You're not just a asset company. You do the
Yeah.
concepts and all this kind of stuff. Is there more to it? Like, what else do you mean when you say you want to be more than an art studio? Like,
Well, I don't want to call it just now code development because for code development we are not having the manpower or the amount of technical artists or coders you should have.
mm-hmm,
But that's the main goal, I guess, to make a studio that is kind of a code development studio instead of just an art provider. But not there are some code development studios that are just strictly working for one other company, like Activision. There are many code development studios that helping out the big Raven or it's IW studios.
mm-hmm.
And we don't want to be just a studio to work for one company as a code developer or an art provider, but for many others and helping them to explore their artistic direction and helping them to make their.
Isn't that a fork in the road though? That's a decision that you as a studio need to make. Like, isn't it? You have one or the other. You can't have both. Like, you either be a code development studio, in which case you are sort of loyal and you only work for this one studio because you're code development, or you go the other route, which is you work for multiple studios, but you're not co-development. I mean, isn't that something that as a studio you can only have one or the other? Is it possible to do both?
Well, that's the thing. First, you need to base your work on to actually get a like the amount. Like that's the same. Just as an example, if you're doing an outsource studio and you want to do games at some point, somehow you need to make an structure and making the studio get wealth first before you can make any bigger movements.
Mm-hmm.
So what we are doing is basically making Wardog big and seeing then what's coming next, where we can uh, start to discover new fields. Like, do we want to move also a little bit more into movies, or do we want to move more into actual games in sense of code development? And yeah, like
That'd
Wardog
be interesting, actually.
and like
Films.
what just what I mean is just because Wardog is now an outsource studio, we are not saying or bounding us to this one term in sense of we will never change or something.
Yeah, you'll move where the work is. It's interesting you say films. I think films and games they are super close at the moment, and I feel like they're just getting closer from the asset point of view. I
Yes,
mean, character wise, they're still quite far away.
yes, but
Realistically
environments
speaking,
are pretty close.
yeah. Environments, materials, weapons. I
Yep.
mean, you can browse through the War Dog stuff. I mean, I know
Yeah.
they're super high res, and maybe they'll need some optimization to be like game ready, but they're pretty much there. It's like they would not look out of place in the Blade Runner movie.
Yeah.
Um, and that's one interesting thing, really. Like
That's the
the
thing.
game studio is quite small. That's the thing I find quite interesting.
Yes.
The industry is actually very, very small. Like you said, there's not hundreds of weaponized roles. It's a
Yes.
very specialized group. As soon as you move out into film, it's like all of a sudden, okay, there's a lot more. You almost triple your workload,
Yes.
or sorry, work potential,
But if
and then
you
you move into other areas.
if you go on our website, we are already even saying that. Let me open it myself just so it's proper. We're saying Wardog is a specialized hard surface art outsource company dedicated to producing high quality asset for games and film. So
That's an interesting move.
we are
I like
trying
that.
to not just going for games because like that's also the thing what how we try to be different from other studios. We try to be actually artistic as fuck. Like
Yeah, yeah,
we saw many outsource studios and their logos and their web sites and be like, yeah, this isn't telling me they are artists. This is telling me there sits some manager on the top and he is making the decisions and this doesn't look like an artist made it. And we actually want the artistic freedom and making amazing art. And that's also what kind of clients we're looking for always, to have clients we can brew with and like
yeah,
getting amazing results because we're not just an art provider. That's the thing. If you're just an art provider, you are just realizing the dictation of your client, which is also fine if you decide to, but we are trying to also help them to achieve. Like it's more like a we try to help them and support them in their artistic vision and improve it.
yeah. You basically you're not gun for hire.
Yeah,
That's you're not that. That's I mean, I imagine that's a great sales pitch when people when a client hears that and the passion, how passionate about wanting to be that. I imagine it's a great you get probably a lot of buy-in from them. What so that's the client side of things. How do you find your artists?
our
Like
artists.
yeah, because obviously you guys have to be careful. You want to maintain a certain amount of
Yes,
quality. You can't scale up super quick because
yes,
otherwise you risk
exactly.
sacrifice the quality. So what's the thought process? Do you go at it as a hey, this person got in touch? Do we want them, or do you go at it at we have a space that needs filling? So, for example, if I'm just looking at your portfolio, we don't have a character. Say, I know Jade dabbles in characters as well, but just for argument's sake, you go. okay, we need a character artist. Right, we'll go find a character artist. Like, what's the approach to getting new people into Wardog?
Well, a good example is probably also Daniel. We just hired him. It's
Mm-hmm.
the concept you saw, the Wardog Bullpup SMG concept,
Yep.
and he's junior. And the thing about him was I saw his artworks on ArtStation just by
Mm-hmm.
browsing through ArtStation because I was bored. And I just can say I saw potential, and I was just be like, "Yo, Jay, this dude, he got skills," and I can see like we literally had the same thought about him. It was like if we can manage to push him in his skills even more and giving him a direction, he can get an amazing artist, like an amazing concept artist. So we just straight up made a. We're doing something. It's similar to art tests. It's not directly an art test. It's a little bit more involvement of our side in there. It's not
Mm-hmm.
just here, do this. This is your task. You have 2 days. We are more involved in this. We are having a lot more conversations in between the test time, and we realized he would be a good fit to us, and we want to work with him. And that's basically how, for example, we found the first concept artists we hired. It was literally just by receive the potential, let's hire him. Because we also want people to, like, either we have to hire someone who is skilled on our level, which is pretty hard to find, because either they work in-house and they don't like aren't interested in a startup studio, because we also can't pay Activision salaries, for example.
Yeah.
So obviously we need to find either people that having the potential to grow very fast with us and having this drive, like we did with Daniel, or we have to find someone who is already skilled as fuck, but there you have the problem that they're working usually always in a studio already. Like for example,
Mm-hmm.
Linus, he worked at DICE, and now he works with us after he left DICE. And that's just an example. Like like people like Linus, you don't find them in ArtStation by random or something, because they all
Yeah.
work in studio already, because the good people are always grabbed by some amazing company. So yeah.
Does with that whole idea you have where you're saying you know you want to bring people on, you want to develop them, and you want to work very closely with them, is is that something that's only short term viable? Because you know when you as you scale up, and you get bigger, and you have more artists, and you have deadlines, and it's like suddenly you don't have the time to one do that, and b you don't have the when you say I want the artists to be involved, and we don't want to just give them work as they do the work. Do you think
Yeah,
as you scale up, you are going to run into the problem where it's
I
like,
know
okay,
what you
we
mean.
just need to do
We
this?
already sent not sent but like published an advertisement for we are hiring like
Mm-hmm.
2 months ago, like basically some weeks after we just opened the studio. And of course, they are also applying some people that are pretty decent. Some are also pretty amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Um, there you get people from, but also Wardog has become a brand that some people I know working in an in-house studio are be like, yeah, fuck this in-house studio job. I want to work for you just because the idea of Wardog and the branding itself, like it's so selling to them, the idea that
Mm-hmm.
they are like, yeah, fuck my current job. I just want to work for Wardog because you guys have to get amazing stuff to do, and also the quality bar is so high that every skilled artist who would join us would know he could learn something. Not because we are so amazing, but because if you are an amazing person quality-wise already, you need other amazing people to just learn from
Mm.
because they don't need to be better or worse, but if they are on the same level, you always can learn something from them.
Yeah, they just
Like
have a different perspective on
yeah,
tackling
exactly.
something.
I have learned so much stuff from Rick, for example. Like even especially at Elite, he taught me a lot of techniques for 3D. And Valerio, for example, Miguel, my mentor, who also made the WDMK18.
Oh, nice.
And that's the thing. Like also Donnie from Elite 3D. It was like the whole weapons team at Elite that pushed me to the person I'm now, like quality wise, because all those guys over there did the weapons, and
Mhm.
they were all just a lot of better than me, and I was like, oh yeah, I have to get to this level somehow, otherwise I don't know. I had this feeling I suck, so I have to get better. And they were just so much better than me that I just had to work a lot more than anyone else just to get to this point. And
Yeah, no, I get what you mean.
yeah, but yeah, that's the thing. Like when you're hiring people, we're trying to find people either with potential or we try to get people that are sold to the idea of Wardog and are already on our level. Like we haven't even thought about hiring someone in between, like mediocre person, because the problem often I had also when I worked at Elite that often when you have mediocre artists, not like in a judging way, I mean mediocre, just in it's their job and they don't care much about developing their skills.
Yeah,
At Wardog, at least currently, we can't need that much because it's just they don't motivate us to get better or and they also might have not the work ethic to
mm.
grow the company because currently that's also a very important thing for us. We want people that are interested in the Wardog as the company and not just yes, you are the people who pay me my daily bread.
Yeah. That's the way I think a lot of I've been involved in recruiting in past studios, and it's always I'll take the artist which is like 6 out of 10,
Yeah.
but who is super keen to get better and is a good work ethic, to the 9 out of 10 artist who is happy where they are and they will come in and treat it as a job.
I mean, though, that's
You
the
know,
thing. Like,
you
we are not even trying to like we are trying extremely hard to not have any crunch or overtime at all
mhm.
because we are just not liking that. So we are not even wanting people to work more than it's needed. But it's just about like the work ethic in general. Like
Yeah, it's the drive.
if you fuck something up time wise, you have to stay in for it and fix it. Like that's the thing. If you fucked it up, don't go home and say yeah that's my 8 hours today and I'm done with it
Yeah,
because
no, I get what you mean.
that's not so easy.
Well, you're letting your team down by that point. It's a team game. It's like I always say. It's something. There's a guy who was on the Joe Rogan podcast, and he said something. It's always about it's we versus me, and it's the people who are in it for the we and helping the collective versus people in it just to help themselves.
Yeah,
And that mentality, that shift in mentality, can like make or break studios. I've seen studios
yeah,
really get crippled by just a couple of the wrong characters
yeah,
seeping in and you know just grinding people down, with the negativity and stuff like that. It
yeah, exactly.
especially for studios such as yourselves, you guys are you're starting out, you're smaller. All it takes is one bad person, you could potentially really hurt yourselves. Um, so yeah, it's hard though, isn't it? Because
It is quite
everyone
hard.
in this industry, it's being so competitive. There is this strong mentality of you got to be in it for yourself, which is a shame. I understand it, but it is a shame.
Yeah,
Um, but we've so this is actually bringing me around quite nicely. We've been talking now for 50 minutes. I I'm interested to see what you say to this. I always ask all my guests. I always throw this curveball at them. I always ask them a question, and I'm curious to see what you say to this. What in a year's time? Where do you want to be
What?
as a person, as an artist, as a person, individually?
Yes.
You, where do you want to be in a year?
In 1 year.
In 1 year, this time next year,
Me as an artist.
as a person, say person. So I think
Because
artist is. I think artist is quite limiting.
I just mean because yes, I'm still doing art and I will continue art, but also what I saw now we having clients at Wardog, you can feel that I have to take responsibility leading wise
Mm-hmm.
and doing a lot more management, even though I still do my art. That's no question. So art wise, at least next year at this point, I want to have done a lot more mechanical stuff, not weapons, but like not especially vehicles, but like maybe mechs.
Oh, kind of like the Matthew O'Halloran stuff.
Yeah, maybe also going like I always wanted to do stuff like the Deus Ex stuff, so it's like this organic
Mm.
robotic stuff. So this is the kind of stuff I dig a lot, and also designing because I have designed many guns in the past year. I never published any gun of those. They are all kept in my folders. But I'm yeah trying to develop those skills, and yeah, and as a person, wow, in 1 year, I hope when people think about me, they think about Wardog and how amazing Wardog is and how big it has become. That's my main goal, making Wardog within 1 year. Just
That's not bad.
grand.
That's not a bad goal, dude. That's not bad going. That's a good answer considering the scale of it. It's such a big, yeah, it's such a big thing. Um, Dude, it's been an absolute pleasure talking. I've really enjoyed diving into this. Obviously, I work a Decagon, so I'm like kind of I suppose you could say competitor, but it's interesting hearing your thought process and the way you think about this.
Yep.
Um, and I appreciate you coming on. I know you're a busy guy. We've got Linus on next week actually, and I think we've got Linus on next week, and we've got Dario on the week after.
It's amazing.
So it's like a War Dog month. But yeah, dude, thank you so much for coming on. All the guests, all the people listening, please remember we are on SoundCloud, Spotify, iTunes, YouTube. Anything you can do to like and support and share helps the podcast out greatly. The more people to see this and hear this, the more people who hopefully benefit from some of the great things we're talking about on here. But dude, thank you so much for coming on, and yeah, see you next Wednesday, guys.